Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 423. I had the black pieces here and my opponent kicked off with e4. So I chose to play the Sicilian defense, and we get a very interesting setup. I play the classical Sicilian, so d6. This is one of my main opening defenses as black. So taking, these are all the normal moves. And knight f6. Yeah, my turn. Knight f6, attacking the e-pawn. He defends with knight c3. And now the choices are a6, the Najdorf is a move that's usually played at the top level. Knight c6, the classical, that's what I play. e6 is the Scheveningen, and g6 is the dragon, which I've also played, the Sicilian dragon, a very interesting setup. Okay, but knight c6, the classical. And now there's a number of different responses. My opponent chose the sharpest one, which is bishop g5. This is known as the Richter-Rauzer attack, and we'll go down one of the main lines of the Richter-Rauzer, you'll see. The other move here that you want to consider is bishop to c4. This can lead to the Fischer-Sozin attack, or just bishop to e2, playing positionally, or you can go for a English attack setup with f3 and bishop to e3. But it's just not as effective against the classical Sicilian as it is against other Sicilians. So one of the advantages of playing the classical Sicilian is that if your opponent just automatically goes for the English attack against all kinds of Sicilians, he gets a setup which is not so great in this particular case. So anyway, it's an interesting way to play, but you have to deal with this very sharp line, the Richter-Rauzer attack. So I play okay through the opening here, and you may be a bit surprised that this is okay, but it's very typical of the way it ends up. f3 is not really a necessary move here if we back up. The most common move here is to follow up with queen d2, just getting behind the bishop and preparing to castle on the queen side. But anyway, my opponent played f3, shoring up the center and keeping my knight out of the g4 square. But you see the knight's pinned by the bishop on g5, so f3 is not as necessary as it is in other Sicilians. So I play a6, and now he goes queen d2. So we're just kind of a move behind in the in kind of a standard Richter-Rauzer line where white is thrown in the extra move f3. So I went to bishop e7. Bishop d7 is probably the more accurate move here to enable taking back with the queen. The bishop on e7, you're committed here to taking back with the bishop or the pawn. Now, white castles queenside, and I go queen c7. I want to defend the knight so I can push the b pawn forward and play my bishop to b7. Bishop d7 immediately is the main move here, but this is still okay. And now bishop takes f6. And this is what I said is kind of crazy about this opening, but very often in this opening you want to take back with the pawn, because if you take back with the bishop, it leaves this it leaves the d pawn under defended. Now in this case I could have taken with the bishop, the chess engine is telling me. I guess because well, let's take a look at this. This is an interesting variation. So if I take here, I was expecting him to take my knight, take back with the queen, and now he can just grab this pawn, and the engine says it's not so great. That's very interesting. And just bishop d7. I guess I have compensation in the form of the bishop pair, and the development looks pretty even. I haven't castled yet, and he hasn't developed his bishop, but yeah, that's interesting. So one way to play it is to just give up that center pawn and keep playing. I guess it's annoying to have this queen here, but I guess it's not going to stay there. Let's see if, yeah, he could just take on c6. If he plays a move like g3, that's a weird move. Queen takes c6, bishop, say bishop e2. That's a normal kind of developing move, connecting the rooks. Then I take his queen off, and now I can castle either side, although bishop to c6 is apparently the most accurate move. Also with the queens off, maybe I'm in no hurry to castle. Okay, so that's interesting. So I could have taken with the bishop there, but also taking with the pawn is a legitimate option, and the idea is that the king is either going to stay in the center or go to the queen side. He continues with bishop c4, hitting one of my pawns in the center. And now I play the move b5 that I had planned. Knight takes d4 could have been played. That's often an idea to eliminate some of the pressure by taking that knight off, but b5 is not bad. And now he played bishop to b3. And now knight takes d4, and the game is about even. I still am just getting my pieces out. And now he takes, knight c takes. Cancel that. You know, he took on b5. Let's see. Knight takes e6 is a tactic here. So let's take a look at that one first. I wouldn't have expected this, but this is also interesting. If he can destroy the structure in front of my king here with a sacrifice, this can often turn out to be good for white. Bishop takes e6. This is a case where he gets 2 pawns for the piece, and he gets to keep my king in the center. But it looks like I can hold this with accurate defense, starting with knight to d8. Okay, so that's one idea here. The simple move is just to take on c6. That was what I was expecting. But he played the fancy move, knight c takes b5. Okay, so I take back, and I'm actually a little bit better in this position. He's grabbed 2 pawns for the piece, kicked my queen, and made sure that I'm not castling on either side of the board. But the king can actually just stay in the center with this kind of armada of pawns in front of it, and it's not too bad. So queen to b6, I need to get away from his knight. And now knight takes d6, check. This was his idea, picking up an extra pawn. So he's got now 3 pawns for the piece. And queen takes d6. Cancel that. Queen takes d6. Yeah, so if we stop and count, I have this extra piece, which is the knight. My rooks are not yet connected, and his queen is sort of annoyingly posted there. But I can chase the queen away with rook to d8. Queen goes to f4. And king up to e7. This allows me to connect the rooks, and now my rooks can operate. And maybe I want to trade here and bring a rook to the d file. He plays g4. And right here I make the critical mistake. If you look at it, white's sacrifice has not yet panned out. And in fact, black still has the advantage. But the move I play here is knight e5. Before I put it on the board, I'll just draw the arrow. And if you want a really difficult tactical quiz, remember my opponent's a pretty strong player. He's rated 1647. Compared to me, he's strong anyway. He finds this tactic right away. So after knight e5, actually, I'm losing. So if you want a second to, if you don't remember it from the game or you haven't seen the original game, you might want to take a second here and see if you can figure out the tactic or recall the tactic. So pause the video now. Okay, I'm going to play the move, knight e5, and the chess engine, of course, comes up with the answer immediately, g5. This is a really great undermining tactic. First of all, there's a threat simply to take on f6 with check and drive my king back to the back rank, and that would win the knight, which is loose. But if I take myself, then the knight is loose anyway. So whether I let him take or whether I take the pawn, I'm still losing the knight here on e5, and there's no way to defend it. The best try is knight to d5. So let's go with this line to see how I might have played. And then bishop to a4, putting pressure. He's still going to get in this check at some point. F takes g5, queen takes g5 check, drives my king to the back row. And now queen d2, queen e5. I don't know. It's interesting. I still have the extra piece, but the situation has changed. Well, there's a pin on the knight now, so it can't move. And queen to f6 hits my rook in the corner. It's funny, it doesn't show it all the way through to winning material, but definitely white has the edge in this position. He still has his 3 extra pawns. Well, 3 pawns for the piece, and my pieces are tied up, and I guess he's going to go on to win this game. Okay, so I could have defended better. I could have tried this knight to d7 idea. What I played was actually the second choice of the chess engine. You see, it's not that much different. You have to give the chess engine some time to calculate it all out and figure out the consequences. I just took the pawn, but then this loses the knight, and I just don't have enough compensation. He's gotten his piece back, and he still pawns up. So the game is basically over at this point. I tried queen e3 check, just trying to complicate things. Also holding on to my pawn, whatever pawn advantage I have, I'm going to try and keep it. Goes to b1, and exchange off the rooks to c8. But basically it's hopeless. Let's just go through this. He brings his pieces in, and then I don't want to trade queens. I want to try and keep the material on, but he keeps his edge through this whole sequence. And let's see, there was one point back here where he had a much bigger advantage, somewhere around here, after rook c8, queen d6 check. Yeah, okay, so queen d6 check here gave away a bit of his advantage. He should follow up with bishop takes e6. Ah, yeah, this is the point. There's a sacrifice here that he can play, which is pretty strong. Let's check this out. Bishop takes e6, pawn takes, queen takes, queen to g7 check. That's a nice one. A skewer tactic. So when my king goes out of the way, he picks up the bishop. So he sacrifices a bishop for a pawn, but then he gets a bishop back and continues to demolish my king side. So anyway, this is a very risky opening, and you have to be on the lookout for tactics like that all the time. Of course, I was losing in any case, even without the fancy tactic. So like I said, I want to keep the queens on and try and keep it complicated, but my opponent keeps the edge through all of this sequence. So pretty much queen to c3, queen takes c3. Oh, I played that. So actually, this move here was a mistake. He should play king to c1, a4, other moves. So b3 kicks the queen but gives up the c pawn. I take it, and then he played queen takes c3. I take with the rook, that's forced, and then he played rook to d3. So I was wondering how he got back into the game. Oh, I should just trade his rooks and grab the other pawn. Ah, so he gave me a chance to get back in the game. And I kept the rook instead of trading. I didn't realize I was back in the game, actually. Let's stop and count the pawns. If I take his rook, he takes with the bishop, and then I take here. He's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 pawns, and I'll have 4 pawns. And his pawns are going to be scattered. He won't have any connected pawns. So I must have been rattled at this point in the game, because that's pretty straightforward. So he let me back in the game, and I didn't take advantage of it. Okay, so I retreated my rook. He brought his king forward. Now, once again, yeah, it's just about even. I'm getting some activity with my pawns. Okay, but he managed to round up another pawn there, and now he's back. Now he's back to winning. Okay, well, the game was not entirely as straightforward as it seemed. I tried to push on with my one-passed pawn. That was what I was playing for, was was trying to get a passed pawn, but he effectively blockades it with his king. And I don't have any way to stop these pawns from coming through. And you'll see the chess engine evaluation just starts to go up and up and up. But anyway, quite an interesting game there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.